Welcome to the Business Awareness Hour with Lisa and the Music Man. Live from Studio C, here at Media Stations in Bohemia, New York.
And good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Business Awareness Hour. My name is Norman Wasserman. I'm also known as the Music Man, and the lovely Lisa Rodino sitting right next to me, my co-host.
Hi.
I'm still getting used to awareness.
I know.
I'm not the Power Hour for all these years that I've been doing it.
Yes.
It's crazy. But anyway,
Well, the Business Awareness Hour is
it's more appropriate
fitting.
for what we do
more
anyway.
Fitting, and it is more appropriate.
So how are you? What's up?
Oh, hey, I'm here. I'm doing
Yeah,
well.
what's going
Thank
on? You felt lonely? You had nothing to do?
Well, Dante had to be in the city today, so we decided we'll come out tonight, and tomorrow we have some other business we have to take care of.
Where is
here
he
on the
tonight?
island. He is having dinner with a friend, actually the husband of my friend who's over at Stony Brook right now.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yep, so he's meeting up with him, and we'll catch up at the Airbnb tonight.
You know what today is?
What is today?
Election day.
Yes, it is election day.
I hope everybody voted.
Yes.
Actually, our guest fought he's a vet, and because of the work that he has done and other people that he has been in the armed forces with, we have an election day because we are a free country.
This
All
is
right?
true.
And let's welcome Mr. Michael Goodrich from Santa Fe, Texas, y'all.
Welcome, welcome.
Well, thank you for having me on.
Where's your accent?
Where's my accent? I'm a lost Yankee. I'm a transplant. I
Where
was
you
born
from?
and raised in Columbus, Ohio.
That's
Been
not
all over
Yankee.
the world.
Yeah,
Yep.
Northeast is Yankee.
Oh,
well,
come
well,
on.
he's
I mean,
a northerner,
East Coast.
carpetbagger. Come on, he brought his stuff
Midwesterner in denial. How about that?
down. Okay, there you go. Yeah, because those Buckeyes, you know.
Yeah, my
My
grandson goes
husband's
to
from
Ohio
Michigan.
State.
Oh, my husband's from
It's
Michigan.
a-
There's a big battle.
Yeah, no, of course.
It's a
there is.
religion. You
That's
either
the
love
game
them or
of the
hate them,
year.
or love to hate them.
Michigan and
Yes.
Ohio State. You can't
Yeah.
beat that game.
Yep.
Yeah, it's one of the
Thanksgiving.
greatest rivalries.
Yep, Thanksgiving every year.
Well, welcome to the Business Awareness Hour. Let's start off by we just introduced you. Tell us about you were in the service. What branch of the service were you in?
Yeah, so I was in the Air Force. I joined right after high school in 2007.
Did you join for a purpose? Were you learning to get a trade? Were you there for any particular reason?
So actually joining was the purpose. So I really wanted a sense of purpose in my life, and I was watching all my friends run around, party, do the college thing. I recognized pretty early on, was fortunate to realize I was a pretty bad procrastinator, and so I was like, well, I need a pretty violent lifestyle change. So I decided to go ahead and fix myself and send myself off into the military and go learn a trade job in the Air Force. I was an aircraft electrician is what I started as. Eventually ended up being cut trained is what they call it, cross utilization training to all the different specialties. So I did engines and hydraulics and flight controls and radios.
That's what Lisa's son does.
My son's an aviation mechanic. He actually
Awesome.
was in the Civil Air Patrol as a young adult or child to start with. And yes, he's in aviation mechanics now out of Virginia.
Oh, amazing.
Ronald
That's awesome.
Reagan. Yep.
How
he's a
long were
supervisor.
you in the service?
I was in for 15 years.
15.
Wait
You
a
look so
minute,
damn young.
15? It looks like
15
4,
years.
maybe.
What'd you join when you
Well,
were
I'm-
four? Like she said, were you 4 years old when you went in there?
Well, I'm 35. So
Less. Wow.
I left right after I turned 19. And so actually my first duty station, so growing up in Columbus, Ohio, my first duty station was in Idaho in the middle of nowhere, working
Potato
15s
fields.
of fighter aircraft. So that was a pretty wild lifestyle change for me, going from city to blizzards and 4-foot tumbleweeds blowing through them.
Tell us
So-
about some of these fighter jet planes that they have nowadays. Can you talk? Do you have permission to talk about them?
Well, I don't know any of the secret squirrel information, so anything that I'm speaking about on those next gen fighters is all public information. My first aircraft was a F-15, initially designed to fight the Su aircraft or the MiG aircraft from Russia, and we kind of took them at their word and what the capabilities were. which it turned out not to be. So we had this souped up fourth gen fighter for no reason with a positive weight to thrust ratio and couldn't accelerate in a vertical climb. So it was a lot of fun.
Really?
Wow.
Vibrations are crazy. And as an electrician, I spent a lot of my time rewiring that thing.
Oh, I'm sure.
You know, it's interesting. I introduced Lisa to a gentleman last week that has developed a mechanism for
It's
airplanes.
It's called a wheel tug.
And what it
Really?
does, instead of just going left and right, you make a complete circle.
Yes.
It's capable of turning the whole jetliner or a jet fighter or whatever it may be in a complete circle, so you can leave and approach without going reverse and drive and all those that kind of stuff.
Which
They
would be
have it-
very convenient.
And they have it operating on an electric battery instead of having to have the engines on.
How's that?
That's even better.
Yes.
How's
That's
that?
So you
awesome.
have an automatic transmission in this thing that you can move it around the airport.
Just
You
run
got
it
some
off
rich
the
clients?
APU, or
You got
say
some
that
rich
again?
clients?
Did I ever do what clients?
They're looking for investors.
Oh,
Yeah, talk
they're
to
looking
me.
for investors. So,
Talk to me off air.
and we can get into that. Quick disclaimer: anything that I speak about on the show is for educational and informative purposes only. So don't take anything I'm saying as investment advice, and please talk to your financial professional. But so my line of work now as a financial advisor is not in private equity and it's not in funding private projects. So it is a lot more in the public facing space. I do have friends and colleagues in the private equity space, and that's who you would need to be in contact with to be able to raise money for a project like that.
Right. You're not licensed for that yet.
So tell us why you got out of the service. What else did you do besides the technical
Aviation.
stuff? Did you do anything else in the service?
Yeah, so after Idaho, I volunteered to do a year in Korea. Then I worked F-16s and A-10s out of Korea. Then went to Charleston, South Carolina. That's when I got onto heavy aircraft. That's when I got
What's a heavy
cut trained
aircraft?
to all the different specialties. And then I became a flying crew chief. So then my job was basically a glorified babysitter for pilots. When they, hey, chief, I broke it. And then, sir, did you follow your checklist? And then fix the plane when they land. They go get drunk. I fix the plane. It's ready for them when they show back up. Then they take off again. So I got to see a lot of the world.
Mike,
spent a
what
lot
is
of
it?
time
What
in
is heavy aircraft?
So like a C-17, a C-5, your big cargo planes that
Oh, okay.
we move around all the Army stuff for.
Yeah. When you see all the trucks coming off the plane, that's him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was a good time. And then being able to go see a bunch of different places in the world.
So
Saw a
did
lot
you
of the sandbox.
Did you
Got to see a lot of Europe. And
Did you support any of the air shows from around the United States in the summer months and such?
Like the Blue Angels or someone like that?
we used to go down to Vegas and participate in Red Flag and go watch them practice, but I was never attached to the Thunderbirds unit or directly supported the Blue Angels. We would go play war games against them a lot, but that was about it.
Okay. All right.
Okay, so then you got out a year ago, a year and a half?
Yeah, so I separated in June of 2022. Before that, I had been studying finance for about 7 years. And so this is something that I knew I wanted to do to be able to go help people so they didn't have to walk the same path that I did down finance.
So when you say you studied finance, was that through the military or is that on your own?
No, this is on my own after hours. I was putting in another full-time job, teaching myself and going down that rabbit hole. So when I first joined the military, I didn't know anything about finance. I literally thought everybody financed everything. And so naturally I was in a bunch of debt. I would go into, supervisor would host a holiday party. All the airmen would show up. And I'd look around the house like, man, this is amazing. Like, how can he finance all this? Like it did not click in my head that people actually pay things off. Like I had no idea. And so that was a lot of hard lessons learned. And I probably made the majority of financial mistakes that you can make. And so when I speak to clients and am walking them through how to then treat their finances and how to develop strategy around them, a lot of it is speaking from experience and a lot of the mistakes that I had made also personally. So
We've all
about
have made
26
mistakes.
Say that again.
I said we all have made mistakes.
Yes.
That's why Lisa Rodino
is in my
It's in
business.
business that she's in.
Yes.
Because
you
she
know.
corrects those mistakes for people. And that's why you
Absolutely.
and her are
Yeah.
going to have a one-on-one.
Right. And I
Oh,
like
yeah.
to say I'm the judgment-free zone because we all have bumps and bruises. Some have bankruptcies, some have it worse than others, but no worries, we'll get through it and move you to the right side.
And
Yeah,
I can talk
absolutely.
from personal experience that I've used her services.
That's amazing.
And it even works.
Yeah, absolutely. That's awesome. And I'm sure that you have seen the same thing when you lead with your personal experience and some of the issues that you've had in your own personal life. It makes people a lot more comfortable to talk to you about their finances so that you can actually get to the root of the problem and help them move forward because they're like, oh, he was in the same boat I am. A lot of people maybe feel like you might judge them. And to your point, like that's not the purpose. The purpose is to guide and walk them through from
Right.
point A to point B to get them to where they actually want to go with it.
Right.
You know, when I first spoke with you, when I met you on NRG, the reason that I wanted to have you on the show is because of the way you present yourself.
Oh, I
And
appreciate it.
the way you talk and handle
Well-
yourself. And I'm saying to my boy, this is a really young guy that can talk like this. Well, now that I know you're 35 years old, I don't think that way anymore. You know,
He's not Sam Pepin.
you know. So
I had the pleasure of meeting Sam last week, and he is very young, very energetic.
Yes.
Definitely a master
can't
of his
understand
craft
the
at a
thing
very
he
young
says.
age.
with the French accent as thick
Oh,
as
tu
it
peux
is.
pas comprendre?
Yeah, same to
Oh,
you.
oui, je comprends.
Yeah, here's my compo.
Yeah.
I have no clue what the young man goes
Oh.
and said, but he does very, very well for himself.
Yeah.
Absolutely,
That's
yeah.
great.
And good on him, too. He's
Yeah.
very sharp.
He
I haven't
is.
seen him for a while
Yeah.
on any meetings, but I guess he's still hanging around.
Yeah.
So you went to the service, you taught yourself finance. I guess you got yourself licensed.
Oh, yeah.
Okay,
Yep.
are you
Yep. Yeah,
licensed
that was-
across the country?
What was that last part?
Are you licensed across the country or just?
Yes.
Okay.
So the only stipulation is I work with U.S. citizens. So I do not work with foreign nationals, but I can work in all 50 states.
All right,
Okay.
and as long as we got to who you work with, how do people get in touch with you?
Well, the easiest way is to just call or text the office number at 409-904-5211. And that's 409-904-5211. Or go to the website, goodrichfinancialadvisory.com. There's just the book your free consultation. It'll automatically take you to the calendar, and then we can just have a meeting, have a free consultation.
Okay, so
Very good.
now that people know how to get to you, all right, what are you going to do for them?
Well, so at Goodrich Financial Advisory, so we are a fee-only advisory, so meaning a fee for service. So what that initially means is it is a comprehensive financial planning that doesn't rely on commissions. So we're going to sit down, we're going to break down all of your personal finances from anything from what debt you're in. We'll have a conversation of what good debt and what bad debt is. All the way to, do you need insurance? Is insurance appropriate for you? What kind of risk are you comfortable with? All the way to, how far from retirement are you? What do you want that to look like? Are you going to take care of your children's education? That all sits on top of who we specialize in, who we service, which is business owners. So another core portion of what the firm is made out of is we offer a fractional CFO services. So since we service small business owners, the small business is their whole life. That's everything. You can't talk to somebody about their finances without their business being the center point of that conversation. So we go through and we deep dive their business finances, get everything straight, everything together, everything from, are their expenses allocated correctly? Is their sales commissions allocated correctly? Are they spending too much on marketing? What's the return on that? So we really walk it through step by step in a 7-step process, all the way from reviewing their business financials all the way to making sure that their estate planning on their personal finances is done.
How many people on your staff?
Just myself.
And you do all this by yourself?
Yes.
You are the man.
Wow.
You really are the
Yeah.
man.
I
Tell me
am a
what-
glutton for complicated, difficult finances. I
Tell me
enjoy
what
it.
good debt is.
So what?
What is good debt?
What is good debt? So I'm sure that most people listening to this are familiar with Dave Ramsey's rules with debt, and he does not believe in good debt. When you're in business, it's a little different. I personally don't have issues with people turning credit card points as long as they're paying it off every month, but that's not really the good debt I'm talking about. I'm talking about, let's say you run a business, you're in the early growth stage, you're clearing $200,000 top line revenue, and you need to bring on a contractor. However, you know that the slow portion of the month is coming up. So let's say January, February for your business, you know you have a hard time. Well, if you're taking a line of credit or a term loan to make sure that you have enough working capital to work through that slow period with your employee, that debt, even though it may be like standard term loan right now is ridiculous at like 10.5% because of the
How
federal
much?
funds rate where it's at.
Ten and a half
Well,
percent.
he's talking unsecured lending.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. So unsecured business lending, SBA, is very high right now.
Right. It's
Uh,
8.5 or whatever prime is today.
yeah,
plus-
8.5 is prime.
Yep, plus 2.75 up to 3.5 on
Yep.
top of the prime rate is what SBA is charging right
And
now.
I'm going to get a new car. My car lease is over. Oh,
Well,
boy.
new car definitely does not fall into that. But as long as your calculations of return on that employee exceeds the debt on that loan and you able to pay off that loan in a reasonable period of time, not taking the full 7-year term, but paying this thing off in a reasonable amount of time to maintain your cash flow. Because again, at the end of the day, cash is king. So if you try and finance everything with cash, it doesn't matter if the idea works, but you're 2 months short, you go out of business.
Right. And for every $1,000 borrowed, 3 is made in a small business.
And so you need to make sure that your numbers, and by knowing your numbers, you're actually going to be able to make intelligent decisions on should you take debt? Does it need to be short term and a business credit card line of credit? Does it need to be longer, 3, 5, 7-year term? So that all really depends on your personal in your business's situation, the goal that you're trying to do,
Right.
and what you're trying to actually invest in with that debt to move your business forward.
And can your business's cash flow support that loan over a 5-year or 7-year
Oh, yeah.
period? That's another
Absolutely.
big
Like
piece
that
of it.
is
That's huge.
the number one because
Yep.
yeah,
Yes.
When you were in the well, you're out of the service. Are any of the people that you were in the service with become clients?
no. So most of them actually are still serving, and some of the ones that are not, that have gotten out, I do a lot of business consulting is thrown around too much, but kind of helping them walk through some of the obstacles and when they're trying to start their own businesses.
Okay.
Yeah, that's why we should have a conversation because we have some answers
So,
potentially.
so now that you two are hooked up and almost married,
Oh, stop.
all right. When I spoke to you and we were talking about being on the awareness show, you had told me that you do public speaking. Tell us about
Yeah.
that.
So that all happened by accident. I ended up, so I volunteer a lot with the Houston Veterans Chamber of Commerce down here in Texas. And so I work a lot with other veteran business owners and helping them move forward and overcome obstacles and kind of get the right mindset on how to charge forward. There are some things that the military didn't prepare us for, right? Like, so the chaos and the change of business, absolutely. Anything that relates to, again, return on investment, finances, and knowing your numbers, not so much. As we can see with current government spending, it's not necessarily the most prudent.
Not a focal point.
So when I'm helping them navigate their path through their startup or their small business, ended up being asked to speak at veteran business events or at college events that focus on small business or other symposiums like that. So it's actually fairly recent that I've been asked to speak on that, but I enjoy it. I could literally talk business all day and deep dive in the weeds. So it's just like having a regular conversation. Just there's a lot more people out in the audience than
Okay,
just
so
two or
this
three.
is what I'm going to do for you. And it just hit me right now. About, I don't know, 3 weeks ago or so, Doc Billard was on.
Yep.
Okay. I think that I can create a need for you with this vets group that is out of Kansas, and I think Denver. Was it Denver?
Somebody was from
No,
Denver.
no,
but
Illinois. I think it was Illinois.
It-
Anyway,
it's an
we're-
Illinois thing, but where the racetrack is,
the Indianapolis.
Indianapolis racetrack.
Indiana.
It's across the street from the Indianapolis Speedway is where this new VFW
60,000 square foot
building is.
building they're doing. Now, it
It's
just so
impressive.
happens that not the Medal of Honor winner, but there are two associates that he has that are creating this, building this building and doing raising money. I think, and they're looking for people like you that can talk to vets and guide them and educate them. So if you call me tomorrow, or
Will do.
probably in the afternoon, because I'm going to be out in the morning. You call me in the afternoon, and I will give you phone, and I'll make the phone call for you.
I
All right,
appreciate that a lot.
Just
Thank
to
you.
open up a door. I think
Yeah.
that's a great,
Yes.
good idea
That is a very
for you
good
to reach
idea.
out
I would
to.
agree with you.
Yep.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Do you speak to any of Mike's vet groups?
Yes. So actually, no, I haven't been able to meet. So he has a very special one on Wednesday. It's a Vietnam veterans group
Right.
that's over on the southeast side of Houston. They meet every week in trade war stories. I would be privileged to be able to sit there and listen to these men speak and tell their stories.
So why can't you
That
get there?
was-
He's not a vet from Vietnam.
Oh, just for that reason?
No, it is well. So he's invited me.
Oh, okay.
I just
So
got to
then
get
go.
up there to them on a Wednesday over lunch and just be able to just listen to their stories. It'd be absolutely amazing.
You know, that's what Mike does. I mean, he does lectures and speeches, goes to
Oh, yeah.
high schools, educates kids on what was.
Yeah,
You know, that's part of his
Yeah.
his plan of what
it is
wants
very
to do.
important.
All right,
It
so
is.
now we got all that squared away. So now I get a message that I put it out that I'm looking for a gentleman like Mike, you.
Okay.
And I make a phone call and we set up a free consultation appointment. And what are you looking from me besides information? Am I supposed to bring any papers to talk to you? I walk in. Hi, Mike. How are you? My name's Norman.
You mean,
How
what's
can you
the
help me?
process? What's the
Yes.
process?
So
Tell me about
so what does the process look like? So a lot of them we had met in person, and then now you're busy because most business owners are extremely busy. So we're going to have a conversation, kind of like how we are now. But at that time, I'm going to ask you that, hey, can you have your business financials up and however that is? The first thing I'm looking at is one, just talking to you about where your needs are, what your concerns are, and where do you think you need help. And so we can kind of address either if it's in the business model or you're worried that you're not getting the services that you need through your accountant or your CPA, which I'm not an accountant or CPA, but unfortunately, that's one of my biggest number one recommendations is that this business owner get a new accountant or CPA, regardless if they sign with me or not. You can tell pretty quickly looking at a year-to-date P&L statement whether or not the accountant's doing what they're supposed to be doing.
Right.
So after that, let's say that you agree that there's a value add here for me to be able to provide financial projections, for me to be able to walk you through how to build your business budget, for me to walk you through how to make sure that your working capital requirements are right. And the business model just makes sense from a logic standpoint and a return on capital standpoint. So from there, I'll go over your last 3 years of financial documents, tax returns, everything that your accountant has done to make sure that all of that is in order. Make sure that you are getting all the credits that you need, all the, are you an S Corp? Are you eligible for the 20% deduction? What are you paying yourself in W-2? What are you taking the rest as distributions? Anything from that to how is your 401k set up? Is it a solo 401k? Do you have employees, your benefits, your insurance, all of it? So from there, the very next step is after we make sure that the foundation is there, looking at what is on your balance sheet. So the very next step is balance sheet. So what are your assets? What are your liabilities? How much did you put into it? What is your company technically worth right now as a benchmark? From there, the very next thing is revenue. How are you counting your income? So these are a couple of separate meetings, as that would be a lot to go over in one meeting. So the review is one meeting, the balance sheet is another meeting, the revenue is another meeting.
Well, all these meetings are not for free.
No, so
Right. So
sorry.
it's
After
15
we said
minutes. Right.
that it makes sense,
Is
right? And we
15
go,
minutes enough
you know,
time?
yep, huh?
Is 15 minutes enough time for someone to explain their life history?
No, it's an hour at least.
Oh, it's an hour. I'm
Uh,
sorry.
Yes, yes. So for me
15
to
minutes.
going
I
over
thought that's
just
what
the
he
high
said in
level
the beginning.
30,000 foot is an hour.
Okay. My
Okay.
my mistake.
Yeah, no, yeah, no, you're good. Because well, so it's not just like so not every financial advisor is different, right? So not every client is going to fit every financial advisor, and for you need to be able to feel comfortable with me and understand how my process works. Do you like that process for you to then share not only your personal finances but all of your business finances?
Right.
And it's a lot of information. So if there's no trust there, like that's
You're
just
not
that
getting
That
relationship
was
is
going to
not going
be
to
Yeah.
work.
that was going to be a question that I was going to ask. You know, people come in, they want to do something, but then they're afraid to talk, and they're
Yep.
afraid to go in and tell you really what's going on, and they, you know, skirt around it without getting there. How do
Well,
you handle that?
unfortunately, and they can either be forthright and upcoming with the
But they're
information,
embarrassed. They don't
or
know. They're in a situation.
yes, absolutely. And so yeah, normally I'd say a little bit more than half of my clients, that's how they ended up approaching me. Hey, I got a problem. I keep running out of money for payroll at the end of the month. I don't know or I'm making good money. I don't know what's happening, or I'm losing some money somewhere. I thought that the return on this was going to be a lot higher. Can you help me with this? So it's usually a problem. There is a pain point that they're looking to get solved. And then normally through the discovery of the pain point is where a lot of initial glaring issues starting to come, like the accountant isn't doing what you're paying them for. The CPA doesn't understand, which is one of the big shockers for me coming into the industry is, and I still hold CPAs to a very high standard. However, I don't think there's some clarity with what the clients expect their CPA to do and what their CPA actually does. And so they make this new picture in their head. And so I've taken some of those life lessons, and that's why I'm very clear with what my role is as their financial advisor
You have
in their life and in their company. So
you
I'm
happen
not the
to
accountant.
you
I
happen
am not your CPA.
Right.
I am your pseudo chief financial officer that is walking you through, you the CEO, you that are running your company, your expenses, your finances, what your balance sheet and your P&L statement looks for, training you so that you don't always need me, because that's not a relationship that I want with a client where they have to have me around. So
Yeah.
I'm going to help them build, teach, show, then set up their personal finances on top, and then with wealth management on the back end.
Well, you happen to be right about accountants, because the only time CPAs come out of their shell is tax time. They don't talk to you during the course of the year. They want to just do your taxes. So you
Well,
do
so
need somebody.
I-
Even if it's a bookkeeper, you need
Yeah.
someone that's going to let you see the light. And
Yes.
Yeah. And that's one thing that I'm working on now with that employee retention tax credit, because so many people have been misinformed, because those that don't have the software will tell you you're not eligible, where the ones that do have the software can dig in and find out if you're eligible and for how much, so those are the
Yeah,
things
absolutely.
that we touch
Yeah,
on, and we partner with CPAs to fix that.
Yeah. And I'm sure just like yourself, I have talked to a lot of amazing CPAs. People, unfortunately, they like to cut corners and try and save money, as like all startups do. Things are tough. You're not making the money yet that you want to make. And so you're trying to be frugal with your money. Unfortunately, bookkeeping and CPAs is not where you need to be frugal with your money,
Exactly.
because you 100% get what you pay for.
And
Um,
new business owners are very consumer minded.
Mhm.
They don't understand
well, depending on what they're
business
selling
expenses.
or services.
Exactly.
Right.
Especially like a B2C business.
Right.
Yep.
Right.
And depending on what the business is, what their business model is, sometimes it gets very confusing. So, for example, if you have a salesperson with a baseline salary, how are you allocating their salary? Because the salary goes against operational expenses and
Right.
SG&A. The commission goes under cost of goods sold because it's a percentage of the revenue.
Yeah, you sound
that
like
they're
you know what
generating.
you're talking about.
I have reverse engineered one or two or a lot of P&L statements to find the
Do you
problems.
have a special?
Engineered. That's phenomenal.
Do you have a special industry that you look to get people in? Are you looking to specialize in anything special industry-wise?
So I don't actually limit which fields or which small business owners I work with. I tend to work a lot with construction, manufacturing, and engineers, just because their financials tend to be mildly complicated compared to most. And when you're bidding a job or you're providing a quote or you're rendering a service or machining a part, when you're giving the quote to the client, that's the dollar amount they expect to pay. So have you done your finances correctly to know what you need to quote while staying competitive? And the back of the napkin numbers, I mean, sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. And obviously you need to build an attrition rate in there. And so, but anyways, that's more what I prefer to do. It's kind of a little bit more of the messier business financial planning, if you will.
So we're going to do right now is we're going to take a break. We're going to about 2 minutes. We're going to say goodbye to everybody, and then we're going to come back, and we're going to finish up with you because we got a lot more to go with you, young man.
Yes.
Okay, so stay tuned, everybody.
Yeah, we'll pay the bills and come right back.
My name is Lisa Rodino. I am a commercial loan advisor and broker. Have you been finding that your business's cash flow is not where you need it to be? Have you found yourself taking from your personal accounts to meet your business's obligations? Have you found that those quick solutions of quick money are starting to get awfully expensive? My job is to find the right funding products for my clients so they can get back to working in their business and give me the task of finding the best options for their situation. Give us a call today to learn more. 516-268-0350.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Friend Entertainment USA. My name is Norman Wasserman. I am also known as the Music Man. Let me just tell you a little bit about Friend Entertainment. We put on concerts for charities, and we do that everywhere from New York to Las Vegas. We do R&B, Motown, rock and roll, jazz, whatever it is that you wish. Friend Entertainment will deliver the best of the best for you and your charity. Here are some of the names of the talent that have performed with us on our stage. Stevie Wonder, Tina Turner, The Temptations, Earth, Wind and Fire, the one and only ELO, Elton John himself, Kool and the Gang, and the fabulous Donna Summer. Go to our website, friendentusa.com. That's www.friendentusa.com, or feel free to call us at 631-698-9696. 631-698-9696, and we'll see you at the next show.
Well, you're going to see us continue on this show,
Yes.
as a matter of fact. So,
Now for the next half of the hour.
okay, so let's see. It's going to turn the page now on you.
Turn the page. Wasn't there a song, Turn the Page?
Well, probably, I guess, something. I'm not one that I'm familiar with.
The Music Man?
Exactly.
Yeah,
I'm saying
really?
that was a nice way of saying no, there wasn't. Okay, now we talked about your industries. We talk about what you do. When you do speaking engagements, continue. Let's make believe we're in a speaking engagement. You reached your point where you are. Everyone took a 10-minute break to do what they got to do, have a drink, and then they come back and listen to you. Pick it up from there.
Okay, so awesome. So I'll take an example. Had a college reach out to me that they were trying to build a business awareness program. This is a community college, so it's not a university. And so they were trying to bring awareness to their tools that they were bringing on. So they do trade programs, they do business programs, and a couple of other things. So they wanted to bring me on to talk about the mess and the path and the fog of war and walking forward and starting your own business, specifically from a finance standpoint. So everyone has this idea and everyone gets the same SBA spiel where, oh, and we can give you a small business loan. And everyone's like, well, great. How does that work? Do I even can I even get an SBA loan? Will this bank even fund me? And so walking the audience through kind of how that process works. where the unfortunate truth is your personal credit score matters a lot when you get into business.
Yes.
And so when the bank is looking at you and your idea and your business plan, the thing that glares to them is, what are your assets? What are your debts? What kind of cash do you have on hand? How have you been with your credit cards? And then they consider, well, if so, for example, let's say you have a $20,000 credit card, and that's really all you're asking for is a $20,000 line of credit for your business or a business credit card. There's a lot higher chance that you get that because the bank can see that, oh, you personally know how to handle this. Where if you're trying to start something that says, hey, I want to get into manufacturing, I want to make this widget and it does X, Y, and Z, and you're going to go ask for $400,000, unless if you have a paid off house in California, the answer to that is probably going to be no.
Right. You need to have the collateral to support the loan by probably about 1.5% of the loan that you're taking.
Yeah, and another common misconception is that the bank will eventually only look at your business credit, which is not necessarily true. Depending on your industry, the business, how big it is, I've seen businesses upwards of $75 and $100 million where they're looking at the credit of the board of directors. Like, that's awesome that but what financial decisions do you make? And it's because it still matters, because at the end of the day, the bank's job is to mitigate risk. And if you're small enough where you're eligible for a SBA loan, yes, the government is backing 75% of that dollar amount of the outstanding balance. If you default, the bank has still got to make sure that it makes sense and you don't go bankrupt immediately. That how long is this guy going to make payments on it? How much am I actually going to make on this return? Because again, at the end of the day, the bank is not in the business of losing money.
Right. And when you go to the local banks, they do a handful of SBA loans per year, and they add all kinds of pieces that they want protected around that SBA loan. Whereas we work with folks that do hundreds of loans for SBA each year. So there's a difference.
It's interesting also. A lot of people think that being in business is the end all. There is so much pressure on one, and of course, there's more pressure in certain businesses than others. I mean, and if you're a single person, it's one thing. But when you're married, you have a family, you got 1, 2, 3 kids. They look at things totally different. Are you going to have but right away people think, if this one's in business, I could be in business. It doesn't work that way.
Yeah, your work-life balance kind of goes out the window until you stabilize. And that could be a year, that could be 10 years.
Right.
Everyone says, like, oh, the overnight success. Well, nobody saw you grinding for 9 years to go then make that happen. Right. And I'm blessed that
doesn't matter.
And
doesn't matter.
Right. And the statistics, I'm sure, in the first 5 years, how many businesses fail?
Oh, I don't actually know that one off the top of my head, but it's a lot.
It's about 80%.
All right, so you can put this now. This is a plus. You put this in your speech.
Right.
Yeah,
80% of business.
Absolutely.
Compliments of Lisa.
So, what is Goodrich Financial Advisory different? Why are you different
than anybody else?
Financial advisory different?
We'll start off with me as a financial advisor that, again, like we kind of touched earlier, I do enjoy complicated finances. And so that is who I've decided to serve and the audience that I've decided to niche down to. Now, on top of that, being a fee-only advisor, I don't sell insurance products. I'm not saying that's a bad thing. It's neither here nor there. I just want to be very clear with the clients that they are the only person I am receiving funds from. And so if I do recommend insurance or I do recommend some kind of a product, that I'm not getting $1 from that. So I'm only receiving money from the client in the arranged agreement.
Question.
So are you licensed?
Yeah, not to sell insurance.
No, I intentionally do not have my Series 6.
Okay.
Have you ever met Jackie Vernier?
Yeah, I have.
Okay. She's all you need for your insurance.
She is.
She's the
very
person
capable.
that you should, exactly.
Yep, she's
the person for you to always give to and create. Now, I'm pretty friendly with Jackie, and she does a lot of referrals for me for concerts. And she does because she knows an awful lot of people, and she's on a board of directors of 10 or 11 companies. right?
Mhm.
She's out there. When she was chatting with me last
She's
week,
got a very, very busy life.
She
huge,
does,
huge.
yes.
You know, so she's
But
good. I'm
she's a
glad
good
that you know her.
yeah,
Good. I don't
good
have to
person to
introduce you
know.
then.
Yep.
Yep.
What are the mistakes that a lot of small businesses make, with their own finances?
Yeah, so we kind of touched on some of them, but a lot of them has to do with, unfortunately, trying to handle their own QuickBooks and thinking that they're reconciling their accounts correctly and then locking in stone some errors that you then have to go almost completely redo. So that's a big one, very expensive. I mean, you can probably talk to any bookkeeper or accountant and ask them, hey, I need you to redo a year and a half worth of expenses and refile some of these old taxes, and they're going to hand you an outlandish bill for that.
Wow.
And so,
Yeah, it's time. It's
but
by
another
the
one
hour.
is not tracking the capital requirements correctly. So businesses have a natural burn rate, and you also have a natural cash flow rate. So you have your cash and you send it out into the market, or you go get your inventory, or if you're in construction or whatever it happens to be, but it takes a while for that cash to come back to you with dividends on it. So you put out $1, you give it, you get $1.50 back. You put out $1, you get $3 back, whatever your margins happen to be. How long is that distance? And do you have enough cash laying around to meet all of your obligations until all those dollars come back? And so that is one that I see a lot of business owners don't track correctly. And that runs into the issue of, oh no, I'm out of money, but I'm in the middle of making money. So you
Right.
need to make sure that you have enough of it on hand. And if you go to the bank and you're already out of cash, you're going to have a bad time.
That's why they say no, and that's why they need to come to me first.
And if they come to you, what do they do? What do
Well-
they call? What's the name of your company?
Oh, Rodino and Associates or Fit You Finance. Yes.
And how do they reach you?
516-268-0350.
That's why she's on this show. She just likes to advertise her business, and she,
Well, you just let me on that one.
I opened the door. That's
Yes,
what
you
that's what
did.
I do. I'm that kind of guy.
Yes.
Let's talk about the U.S. economy for a second, especially it's a year before elections. We know where we were. We know where we are. Tell us your opinion as a financial professional about, we know what the interest rates.
Yeah.
We know that there's unemployment is drastically lower than it was. Give us your opinion.
So we're going to start this again with, this is not market timing, and please do your homework before you do anything with your money. So we've been hearing, we will rewind it 3 years. So 2020 happens, you lock down the global economy, and we turn it back on, and everyone thinks it's just like a light switch, and everything's going to immediately mean revert back to the 2019 economy.
Right.
The problem is we printed several $1 trillion, and now consumer demands are different. And so we're going to focus on the U.S. really quick. We're going to ignore the fact that China was very unable to get goods here to the U.S., and there was a supply issue that then dramatically increased prices. And actually, that did a lot to have the inflation measurements, CPI and core PCE, become very elevated. But the Federal Reserve was very slow to raise rates in this environment because they thought it was all supply driven. It'll be a couple years until it'll prove whether that was true or not, but I'm sure that the many trillions of dollars printed did not help that at all. And so now that they've been playing catch up, this is the fastest rate hiking cycle. I almost want to say recorded, but I don't want to be that bold. We'll say 120 years. So we haven't had one of these like this in a while. And this inflation cycle doesn't look like the 70s, and it doesn't quite look like the 40s either. So we're actually lacking a lot of historical data to compare what's happening right now to. What we do have is what's called the yield curve. And if you look at the government debt, specifically U.S. Treasuries, the United States dollar is the world reserve currency. That curve has been upside down or inverted for a while, actually since November of last year, with the 3-month Treasury being higher than the 30-year yield, actually the 10-year yield. And that's normally a warning indicator. And so, unfortunately, a lot of financial pundits hopped on the air and said that there was going to be a recession's imminent. But then that kind of really hasn't happened outside of trucking and a couple of other retail. And obviously, there's a issue in office space. But what's really important is going forward is we learn from history, and that rate of change is very important. And unfortunately, us humans like to project the current conditions out into the future for forever. And so we say, oh, look, the Fed raised rates to 5.5% and nothing fell apart. Nothing's ever going to fall apart. We're going to put all our money back into stocks. And that generally is a recipe for disaster. We can look back into the 2008 financial crisis. In housing only goes up. I can use ultimate leverage, unlimited, just buy whatever I want and everything will be fine. You look at the Great Depression, 1929. Stocks only go up. I can borrow as much money as I want. I can go borrow and leverage. Everything's going to be fine. It is until it isn't. And so this dynamic is very different, where we have very strong crosswinds of deflation and inflation. And so really what I tell clients going forward is it's not possible to predict the future. However, this is a very difficult financial time. And so it is better to be safe often than sorry. And I'm not talking about taking exposure in long duration bonds. I'm not talking about any of that. What I'm talking about is maybe build cushions into your cash requirements inside of your business, pad your savings account at home. You can still stay in the investments that you're comfortable with, but prepare to weather for a storm and don't be caught off guard with it. And that's really the point I want to drive home with this is there are warning signs everywhere. Being able to predict when, what, and where is going to happen, not possible. But the probability of something going down is elevated.
Let me give you a compliment. Okay? There are so many financial advisors. So many. I mean, every time every other person in NRG or any other network group joins, they're a financial advisor. All right, there can only be so many financial advisors, especially those that make some serious money. You are the only one I have ever heard about the global situation. I couldn't even imagine that the average financial advisor would even know about it. I mean, you'd like to think that they do, and that they should be educated, and here you are talking global. Now, and this is a major, you didn't go to college, you don't have a master's degree, and you're much more intelligent than any other financial advisor that I have ever met.
Well, I appreciate it a lot.
No.
Technically went to college, but it's just the pretend 2-year Air Force degree, so it doesn't really matter. It's not
But
for
look
finance.
what you've achieved.
So
Look what you have achieved.
You dissecting things from the back end, the back office forward is huge. Taking it apart from the inside out, that's always a big way to learn and ingrain that information.
Yes.
Now,
and so it also, sorry, go ahead.
I was going to ask, you talk about, you look at the globe with the finances. Do you work with expatriates that are off site, being around the globe?
Citizens, but off-site.
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't yet, but they do fit
Okay.
my mandate and what I can serve.
Okay. Because I have someone, he's an expat, and he wants to serve the globe for the other expats outside of the U.S. because there's a lot of gray area of what they can collect or do being stateside.
Yeah, absolutely. Because Uncle Sam definitely wants the cut. Like,
So here's another
Uncle
thing.
Sam's going to get his.
The two of you got another thing to go into now, and I'm left out here sucking wind.
Oh, stop, Norman.
Okay, Dylan, what are we going to do about that?
But yeah,
Have to do something.
There's just one quick point on global macro that I do want to touch about real quick, and it's very easy. And when I went down this journey, you're talking about like how a lot of people don't like to pay attention to it because it is hard and it's difficult to be the contrarian. And it's a lot easier just to stick money into the large S&P funds and just timing the market beats timing the market. And I'm not advocating timing the market. However, paying attention to the warning signs, pay attention to what the market is telling you is a good idea. So what you do with that information is what you need to go educate yourself on. So there's no recommendation in that. It is only that you educate yourself in what's happening. And what really helped me put a lot of the pieces together is not only understanding that the United States is the world reserve currency, but you look at the Bank of International Settlements, and they publish non-financial US dollar denominated debt not held by the United States and not originated by the United States. So if you see that the United States has $33 trillion worth of debt, you also see that there's an offshore dollar demand of $16 trillion that has nothing to do with any other government. These are industries, these are other small businesses, these are corporations that have to sell their local currency and buy dollars. So this is what allows the United States to get away with a lot of the money printing that we do, however you want to call it, money printing, dollars on a screen, Federal Reserve. That's not what I'm trying to argue. Is what allows our Congress to fund some of these budgets and some of these deficits at a couple $1 trillion negative a year. And we don't see these crazy inflation problems, like the fact that 2021, 2022 is the first time we've seen inflation consequence in 40 years is not by accident. The fact that we've been going through financial repression, meaning artificially low interest rates, and you see money get super cheap, and you see this giant tech boom because they don't have to make money. They can set all the money on fire, gain market share, and then turn up the price. That business model is done and broken. Going forward, your idea actually has to make money. And so looking at calling them lucky is not a good idea. It's they took advantage of the situation. They read what was happening and they went forth and they conquered on it. But now going forward, understanding what the global dynamic looks like, the United States is trying to bring manufacturing back onshore, or at least near shore, to Canada and Mexico.
Mm-hmm.
Their labor costs are going to go up. This is going to increase inflation because the cost of goods have to go up because it costs more in labor on this side of the world.
Right.
But we need it because we can't have the shelves empty. And so understanding this as a business owner and going forth and making sure that your plan accounts for this is very important. And that's really what I want to get across is when you're paying attention to the whims of the economy. I'm not talking about, oh, we're going to a recession and fire all your employees. It's no, let's just make sure that we don't make any risky investments, that we're not stretched too thin, that we make sure that our lines of credit are healthy and that they're not being used and that they're not tapped and they're there for what they need to be there for when we have a problem. And that's really what I want to get across to the audience.
Why aren't you doing more seminars?
Why aren't I doing more seminars?
Yeah.
That's a great question. I should probably do more seminars.
You are absolutely selling yourself short.
Yes. Get with your local small business development center
Get
or
with
the
your local
group.
guy that used to be a recruiter and a headhunter. His name's Norman, and you should give him a call because he can probably help you.
I appreciate that.
That's an idea.
Thank you.
I think when you see Norman, tell him that I sent you.
Oh, right.
So, Mr. Music Man.
Oh, is that? Mr. Headhunter
that's like that,
tonight.
Kent, where he takes off his glasses and then all of a sudden, people
Clark
couldn't
Kent.
tell that he was the regular dude doing office work.
You mean like this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No.
just like that. Just like that.
So that's what we
Like,
did.
oh, hey, hi, Norman.
Yeah, there you are.
Again, tell people how they can get a hold of you, and I mean,
Yes.
tell them.
Yes, absolutely. So you can go to goodrichfinancialadvisory.com and click the schedule consultation or contact us, or you can call me or text me at 409-904-5211. That's 409-904-5211.
And you are taking care of folks in the United States so long as they are U.S. citizens, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Or
And so
Pat's.
Or expats around the globe.
yes, and so whether that has to work through a proxy or something else, we can work with that. I can do some consulting with that. Where that line really draws is I cannot manage investments for
Okay.
foreign nationals.
Okay, so we're gonna
actually-
we're gonna right now. We're gonna give you another minute or two, and you're gonna do a finale.
Okay.
All right. So there you
Well,
go.
there's actually a piece that I wanted to touch on that we actually really didn't get to touch on, and that's
So let's do it.
investment philosophy. And again, this is not telling people how to invest. This is just how I approach when I'm walking clients through how their money needs to be invested. So here at Goodrich Financial Advisory, we don't use a third party investment manager. Because I'm so plugged into global markets, I handle all of the clients' investments myself personally. So I build their portfolios, whether this person's in retirement and they need an income portfolio, or they have a very boring job. They love engineering and they may compensated very well, but they would like to take some risk and try and make some money, and real estate's not really their thing. And so we go through and we work and put together the portfolio to where they understand what's happening in the portfolio and they can sleep at night. And there's actual true diversification and non-correlation in there. So unfortunately, one of the biggest mistakes I see investors do when they try and invest their own money is, oh, I'm going to buy a basket of stocks that's diversified. The S&P 500 is the market, like is the equity market. That is the benchmark of the equity market. Like the realized vol or the standard deviation of 16.36% is a lot. That is a lot to take in your portfolio. Now, if you have that risk tolerance, awesome, that's amazing. But does your portfolio match what your risk tolerance is, and is it guiding you to where you want to go? And so that is another huge portion of the step. After we work through the business finances and after we work through your personal finances, let's go ahead and start putting your money away in a way that makes sense for you, regardless of what you may have heard over here, over there. I'm not trying to say yay or nay about any specific product, but we provide a very hands-on, high-touch way for you to go forward with your asset management.
Very good. Very good. Yeah, interesting.
No, you really did a great job tonight.
You did.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
You did really, really. If people don't know
So-
who you are now and what you're all about,
Yep.
and the awareness that was created here this evening, then those are the wrong people for you anyway.
Well, I appreciate it. Business and finance is my passion.
Oh, it certainly sounds like it.
Yes.
Yeah, I love talking about it all day. I'm also one of those people that if you need help, I could just hand you all the resources. It starts costing you money when you need me to do it for you.
Interesting.
Well, we want to
So,
thank you
yeah.
very, very, very much for being on the show tonight.
Yes, thank you
Yeah.
for
Thank you very
joining
much, and thank you
us,
for
and
having me.
I look forward to peeling that onion back with you and seeing how we can work together. And
How'd you peel an orange?
well,
An onion smells and it's
It's
stinky.
come on,
and
but you got to
whatever.
get into the roots.
The only
and
thing
all
good
the
about onions is you
layers.
can fry them.
Oh, and then
That's what's good.
caramelize them.
Exactly right.
Yes.
So anyway, like I said, great job to you. Thank you
Yes,
very
thank
much,
you.
Mike, for
Yep.
being
I
on the
appreciate
show.
it.
Don't
So
go away,
just
just
hold
hang
on.
there.
Wow. You
I-
think we planned that? Wow. It's crazy. Well done.
A well-deserved wow.
Yes,
A
that it was.
well-deserved wow. And
Right.
we're going to be back tomorrow night, ladies and gentlemen, and we're going to be back on Thursday. So we're getting
Busy
all
week.
our people in before the end of the year.
Yes.
And we're booking next year like crazy already as well. So we hope to see you tomorrow night. We thank Mike for being on the show this evening and educating everybody that's tuned in. And don't forget Mike Goodrich from Michael Goodrich Advisors. We don't want to screw that up. And we're going to say goodnight to
night,
everybody, and we'll see
everybody.
you tomorrow. Thank you for tuning in.
Good night.
The Business Awareness Hour with Lisa and the Music Man is brought to you by Media Stations in Bohemia, New York. Create your own media and have your own station. That's Media Stations in Bohemia, New York. 516-448-2066 or visit mediastation.com.